Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Lee. I'm with ALLDATA. I am the Manager of Operations for the Automotive Support Group, and we are happy to provide the next series of our webinars. This one will be addressing our billing diagnostic time. We are going to be covering a couple of different micro topics within this big topic. This has been a very enthusiastic and important webinar for us. We've got a lot of interest in this one. It's an extremely hot topic. Today I have some great guests, one of which is Brian Canning. He has over 30 years of industry experience, been a service manager, he's been in the parts industry, lead operations, he's also done a lot of consulting, leadership type of coaching for shops. He's also published over 70 articles in Motor Age, as well as a lot of other different types of journals. Our other guest today is our very own Rich Diegle. He is our supervisor of our ALLDATA Tech Assist Diagnostic team. He has over 37 years of experience in the industry. He's also an ASE Master Tech, Nissan Master Tech. He's been an instructor, a shop owner. He's been in marketing. He's done PR work. He's also done some editing work. So he's kind of a jack of all trades here in the building. One of the things that we really want to make sure is bringing value. So we want to try to get these industry experts. We're very lucky to have Brian and Rich join us today. And so go ahead and get right down to it. And I'm going to kind of give you an idea of the type of agenda that we're going to talk about today. The first micro topic we're going to talk about is how to hire the right type of diagnostic tech, or even develop a good diagnostic tech within your particular shop. You know, not all techs are a great fit for your particular environment, so you need to find somebody that works well for you. The second micro topic is ensuring proper billing and having really good customer communication. Now, this is probably the biggest key of what we're going to be talking about today, is how to communicate to your customer and how to be able to make the right kind of money that works for your shop. And then the last topic, we're going to talk about some good technology and resources that can really help you with your diagnostic strategy, for your techs, for your shop, you know, everything that you need to make sure that you're going to be a success. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand this off to Rich. Rich, it's all yours.
Hey, thanks, John. Hi, everybody. This is Rich Diegle, and I'm here today with Brian Canning. Brian, I got to tell you, I'm a big fan of yours. I always look forward to reading your articles in Motor Age magazine because they're always on topic, they're informative, and sometimes a little controversial, which I kind of like because it's those kind of articles that get people thinking about ways to improve their businesses and their interaction with their customers. And I think those are the kind of articles that really help affect positive changes in the industry.
I would say this, that, been in the automotive industry a long time, and certainly have run into situations that I don't know, I would say in so many ways I'm proud of the industry, but there's ways that I think we can do things better, and that's really why I get involved in the writing, why I get involved with, a lot of the great clients and now friends that I've known over the years, just to make things a little better.
So Brian, let's jump into this first topic, and this is hiring the right tech. Let's talk about the most important piece of the puzzle, I think, with shops that want to offer diagnostics to their customers, and that would be hiring good techs and actually retaining good techs. What credentials and experience should a shop owner look for when they do their interview? And also, should shops expect to pay a little more for these guys?
Well, I think you asked that question in the exact right way. A diagnostic tech is a very special animal. Certainly he's a guy that has all the credentials, has all the training, has years and years of experience. He's a guy that certainly has been in the industry for a while and has certainly seen technology come, technology go, and has somehow survived in all that, and most importantly in there has learned some things. And the final, I guess, important attribute I always would look for in a diagnostic tech is just a temperament. He's not that hardworking B tech out in our third bay there. The guy that can turn out brake jobs all day long, and we just kind of have to aim him. This guy is really much more of a surgeon. He's a guy that's very curious about how things work, very curious about understanding systems and subsystems on a vehicle and how they interact, and really just curious about fixing a car, not so much in the routine sense of it needs a new set of pads or the belts are worn out or whatever. He's a guy that really wants to understand, the functions and how things work on a vehicle, and understanding, why they break, and is important as anything, learns those things over the years and has good instincts of how to look at a car and determine, what might be causing an issue.
So you definitely have to expect to pay a guy like that more than their average tech then, correct?
Because he has such an ability to set us apart from all the other shops that we have to make it possible for him to be retained, for him to be happy, content, and fully engaged. And I would really look at more as not as an expense with this guy. This guy is an investment. He's somebody that is capable of handling virtually anything that comes in the door. He's a guy that we can, truthfully build our business around. The right guy is gold, and he's somebody that, I used to hear this in the parts industry, whatever the market will bear, because I guarantee you, you let this guy get away from you, and he's going to go right down the street to your competition. And I would always encourage you to look at this guy as an investment, not an expense, and find ways to provide, in the context of good business decisions, find ways to pay him what's going to be a good competitive wage that'll keep him happy, but also to keep the company, the business, where it needs to be profit-wise. So it can be a delicate balance, but to me, it's one that's worth making.
That's some great advice, Brian. So I'm going to jump into this next topic, and that's basically how to charge for diagnostic services. We have this quote here from Glenn at Jim Hudson Ford in South Carolina. I love this quote. He says, "A correct answer that a customer pays for is always less costly in the long run than a free answer that's wrong." And it goes on to say, charge openly and honestly. A diagnostic fee, I found, is a good way to weed out the bargain shoppers. If they can't afford the diagnostic testing, they can't afford to fix the car either. So when we're talking about diagnosis, I know a lot of shops, they take their diagnostic capabilities for granted, or they discount it. They think it's just part of doing business. But in fact, a lot of shops, they discount to the point where they start giving away some of their labor rate and their profits. In your article, Brian, I read recently that selling diagnostic time, you contend that instead of discounting the labor rate, shops should actually charge a premium for diagnostics. Can you tell us why?
Strictly from a business perspective, when we get into diagnostics, most typically we're using our most experienced, most expensive technician. And so just from a profit structure, it takes the most to make any transaction involving diagnostics. It takes more to make it profitable. Not to mention, very often it's the equipment that's involved, the time that's involved, and the potential for the thing going sideways. I think that diagnostics is a very iffy proposition at best, and with all those things taken into consideration, and most specifically because of the technician that's involved and the equipment that's involved, it's perfectly reasonable to charge a premium. And again, when I say premium, something above and beyond your normal floor rate, you need to develop a reasonable diagnostic rate. In the industry, we're very scared of that, and I think that there's a lot of reasons for that. We tend to be very price conscious. Our customers, on the other hand, are driven by two things mainly, that being convenience and quality of the work. And I think as long as we do the right things on the front end to make the customer understand, this is something unusual. This is something out of the ordinary, and I've got, my best technician on it, and it's going to take a little time. It's going to take a little money, but we're confident we can get your car back to safe and reliable. Too often we inject our own fear into that, and we want a discount. We feel guilty for providing that critical, important service, and we feel guilty that we're having to charge a customer, very often a large amount of money to take care of that service. But I always want to point to that diagnostic tech and the years and years of training, education, experience that went into making him what he is. We have to account for that. And when we discount it, we don't account for it. We end up giving that away, and the one that most typically loses in those types of transactions is the shop. The shop ends up not being as profitable as they should be.
You got to stay in business, right? This next point, too, is when we're talking about diagnostic time, let's talk about that 1 hour checkout time that for diagnostics that's kind of been the standard in the industry over the years. You know, many shops are reluctant, like you're saying, to charge more and sometimes even apologetic about it. So no matter how much time the technicians got into it, they stick with that hour, and then they maybe discount or even not even charge for the subsequent hours the tech has into it. So I like this quote here that Pete from Pete's Garage sent in, and this is the way he handles that kind of situation. What he's saying is basically they start with an hour diagnostic time, but because of their really good communication and documentation of the test results, they're able to speak to their customers and keep them abreast of what's going on along the way, and they rarely get pushbacks from the customers when they ask for more time. So, you know, when the shops stick that 1 hour diagnostic time limit, you know, you got to figure they're going to be stuck with a lot of unbilled time, and the shop can't operate for a long time based on that kind of a business case, right? So, Brian, you know, what do you think of the things that shops can say? Well, how can they communicate to their customers to help them kind of understand the increase in the diagnostic time?
Well, I think you start on the front end with either with an existing customer, it's taking advantage of those years of taking care of their car. I think you communicate to them that your care of concern for them and for their vehicle. I don't talk to them about price. I talk to them about getting to safe and reliable, you know, that I want them to see the value and certainly see my confidence in that I can take care of it. You know, I have a former client of mine in Spokane, Washington, that it was almost amazing in that his whole approach was looking at that customer in the eye and making them feel special from the time they walked in the door, whether they're getting an oil change or, you know, some major service. And I many a time saw him, you know, there was a major diagnostic situation, and these people just, quite frankly, believed in him. And I think that's something that we in the industry need to take a lot more time with, is developing those relationships. Talk to the customers from the context of care and concern. You know, talk to them about our confidence in getting them where they need to be. They come in the door to us, you know, willing to spend money, knowing they need to spend money, not necessarily tap dancing because they have to, but again, we're providing a critical service. And I think as long as they feel that we're invested with them, that our care and concern is there, and that we're going to take them through that journey, as unpleasant as it may be, that I think they're willing to take that journey with us, and that, you know, in the end of it all, they'll see that value, and that in most cases they'll get that car back with the safe and reliable that we want.
Exactly, and then, you know, that communication goes a long way to build that customer's trust and loyalty. You got a long-time customer I hear this term is like, my mechanic says this, my mechanic says that. That just tells you that customer is basically locked into you, and they'll return year after year to get their car worked on because they trust you, right?
That's really what this is about. If you're going after it as a revenue stream, and you know, your customers are going to know that. But I think if there's a genuine care and concern, and you come to work every day to address, you know, what's going on with their vehicle, particularly in the diagnostic world, because again, on everyone's perspective, it's a big unknown. And I think that the caring communication, you know, helps carry us all through that. And we're there to provide a valuable service, but also to be there and to support our customer and care, you know, about what's going on with them and understand what's going on with them.
Absolutely. You know, it kind of brings us to this next topic too. Extended diagnostic time, you know, and time limits. You know, setting time limits for diagnostics. If the techs go over an hour and researching and diagnosing a problem, you know, still doesn't know what's wrong with the vehicle, you know, what happens that diagnostic time is going over 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours? At what point do you think that shops should either pull a plug, or what's the communication stream with the customer you think they should have when you have a vehicle in there that's not an easy fix in an hour and it's going maybe 3 hours plus? What would be your advice for shops for that?
I want to be much more general. Mrs. Jones, you know, I want to get in there, and you're definitely noticing some strange performance issues. We're not sure where that is now, but I want to get in there. I've got my best man on it, and I want to get in there and let us just figure out what's going on. I got a few tests I can run. Let me give you a call in a couple hours, and we'll see where we are. The one thing that I see a lot of in the industry is customers love their car, and unfortunately, a lot of the times we look at their car and you know, we see a beater. We see a car that we perceive as not being worth it. and we inject our bias, I guess I would say, into the conversation. I think that if there's a question of value, I think we leave that up to the customer. I think that our job is to report to them, as honestly and consistently as we can what we're seeing. I think we communicate to them that, we're into it. We've done these tests. This is where we are. I'm not going to highlight price, but I'm going to certainly say, that we're here. We've invested a certain amount of time here. I want to make sure, Mrs. Jones, that you're comfortable. I'm confident we can find that solution for you, but I just want to make sure you're comfortable, because on the other side of this, we very often feel guilty about, charging a customer at 8 hours, 10 hours, and we don't have a resolution yet. I think unless it's me pulling the plug, unless I'm just absolutely dumbfounded, a customer would, in my world, there would be a real expectation that they would pay for that. I set that expectation on the front end. I reinforce that expectation all the way through. And I would tell you that I always go into a diagnostic job feeling confident that I can find that solution. Sometimes it's more complicated than we expected, but that's the expectation I set on the front end, that we don't know what we have here. And it's kind of like, going to your doctor. When something's beyond a sniffle, in other words, there's some symptoms there that are beyond that, he sends you to a specialist. And I promise that specialist, along with being special, is also more expensive. But he's there for a reason. He has knowledge, experience that's, unique to what the symptoms are there. I don't see too many people asking their doctor or their dentist or plumber, for that matter, for a discount. Our customers, truthfully, want their car safe and reliable. They're not going to tap dance looking to, get a diagnostic job handled, but very often they come to us after they've been 2, 3, 4 other shops and nobody can provide an answer. I think that they come to me. I'm going to do everything I can to find that answer for them, and it'll go where it goes. And I'm going to communicate along the way, so there's no surprise at the end, and there's no guilt. I'm there as an automotive professional providing a service, and if it's 15 hours in, and it was a broken wire, and it took me 3 minutes to repair, but 14 hours to diagnose it, that sometimes is the price of admission. I don't feel happy and gleeful, but I have a diagnostic technician with many, many years of experience that needs to get paid for those hours. I have a business that invested X number of hours in that, and again, the business needs to be paid. The customer's win there is the value of having that car safe and reliable.
Absolutely, and as we all know, the guys have been in the industry long enough, sooner or later you're going to take the whole interior of a car apart to find a problem. Especially a networking problem or something like that is sometimes very involved when it comes to getting to some of these diagnoses, because it's not easy, they're not on the surface. You've got to dig deep to find it. Which kind of brings us up to this next topic here, Brian, was basically the flat rate versus straight time controversy. What's the best way to pay your techs for diagnostic time? Obviously, if a shop is paying their techs hourly, no matter how much time the tech spends on that diagnosis, he's going to get paid his hourly wage, and the shop basically has to eat the overtime. They're only charging an hour, and the tech's in there for 3 hours. Right, the tech's still going to get paid, but the shop's not. It has unbillable time there. But then a shop that's flat rate, do you think shops should be paid basically for the time they have into that, or excuse me, the tech should be paid for the time they have into that diagnosis, or should the shops just basically pay them for the time they bill the customer? What would be the fairest scenario, do you think, or the best strategy to pay both the techs and the customer, and make sure the customer is satisfied as well?
Well, and again, I think there's no pat answer there. I think that there's a lot of things at work here. In the end, the tech needs to get paid. The tech deserves to get paid for the hours that he has into it. I'm going to expand on that in a second. The business deserves to get paid and needs to get paid if they're going to survive. The customer, at the end of it all, needs to have a car that's safe and reliable. However we got there, we need to get to safe and reliable, and that means we do due diligence, we find out what's wrong with it, we fix it. The diagnostic jobs can be running a series of tests. They can be underlying conditions. In other words, there's major services that need to be performed to get to that next step and getting to the diagnosis. So, I want to pay the straight time, through tests and those items. I want to make sure the tech gets paid for those. There are services and, in other words, defined services that are done in the midst of all that where, the book time is 5 hours. I have a phenomenal tech, and again, most diagnostic techs are going to beat that labor guide. If the book calls for 5, he does it in 3. I want to pay him for 5. And, again, it's perfectly reasonable when I use a labor guide and I look the customer in the eye and say, it's 5 hours and then we have this diagnostic, whatever. And again, I'm not typically talking to a customer about costs on individual items. I try to get to a point where I can talk to them about, this is what we found, this is what it costs. But in the end, it's kind of a combination of what's going to assure that the tech and the business get paid appropriately, reasonably, for what they have invested in the car, and that the customer, again, I'm going to keep underlining what they came there for, what gets them to safe and reliable. So it has to be a win for everybody. I can't cut the tech. In fact, I want to build into that incentives where it's possible, where there's labor guides and there's incentives to where he outperforms what the expectation was, that I want to encourage that. And then the business has to make a reasonable wage because, somebody's paying the bills, somebody's paying the lights and all the equipment and, all that goes into that. It needs to be a win for all of us, customer, tech, shop.
Absolutely. And it kind of brings up the next point when we're talking about diagnostic techs. They're trying to be the most efficient they can and get the jobs done in and out of the shop as quick as possible and back to the customer with accurate repairs. But oftentimes, a lot of techs, no matter how good they are, they'll run into a brick wall basically with their diagnosis. They'll get to a point where they run out of ideas, run out of tests. Now, the dealers, I worked in Nissan for years, and I know all the other dealers as well have automotive tech lines that you can call for some help when you get into those situations. So, Brian, in your opinion, though, can the independent shops benefit from having a diagnostic hotline service, kind of like ALLDATA Tech Assist, here to help reduce their diagnostic and repair times, and even actually, help the techs that are trying to kind of coach up the techs that are B and C techs, trying to get to that A-Tech position or Master Tech position, kind of coach them up and train them the proper ways of diagnosis. Those have benefit, do you think?
Tech Assist and the other tools out there are truthfully an extension of that knowledge and experience that diagnostic tech has. He can't abuse that tool. In other words, some of these tools, they point you toward a part that, 462 times across the country, the experience was you replaced this module and that fixes the problem. And there's a temptation out there to, shortcut the diagnostic. You know what? I don't need to do anything else. It says here I can replace that module and that's going to fix the car. I get very uncomfortable when we start short-circuiting the diagnostic. There's a certain due diligence. There's even that certain value that the customer expects. When we get involved, I would expect in a diagnostic situation that the tech is going to go through trouble tree, whatever the diagnostic process is, that he's going to go through all the appropriate steps. But what these tools do is they help you narrow your focus. They help you get closer to safe and reliable, get you closer to solution as you go through that due diligence. It gives you some ideas. There's, with the way cars, think of an industry that changes as fast and dramatically as the automotive repair industry, specifically the vehicles we work on, that change that dramatically from year to year. Your skill today, 3 years from now, is going to be obsolete. So, services like Tech Assist and, again, some of the other tools out there, to me, are indispensable. Nobody can know everything. It doesn't change the diagnostic procedure. It helps you kind of focus that and also verify some of the directions you're moving in. And, again, you talk about the up-and-comer in the diagnostic world. I think we're all up-and-comers, but certainly the context you're using there of a B, trying to become that A diagnostic tech. it kind of, if nothing else, verifies the instinct, because, you know, if you're 10, 12 years versus 15 or 20, your instincts are probably not quite where they could and should be, but you're getting there. You have the right attitude, you just haven't had exposure. Tools like Tech Assist to help you, and you know, as the name says, it assists you in getting to the solution, not as a replacement of the diagnostic process, but as an extension of your knowledge and ability.
That's a great point, Brian. In fact, we like to say it's an enhancement to your diagnostic tools. These guys are awesome. So basically, let's get into, guys, that's kind of wrap it up a little bit. We're going to have the key points of the webinar now, and let's kind of go through them one by one, and we'll kind of review them a little bit. So number one, you got to hire the right tech, guys. Shops, you might have to pay a little bit more for a diagnostic tech, be able to charge more, of course, and you know, in turn, make the shop more profitable, expand your diagnostic capabilities. Number two, you know, guys, stop losing money on diagnostic time. You know, charge more for these diagnostic services. You remember, it's a specialized service. You got a highly qualified tech doing it, and you're using high-tech equipment. You know, those kind of things cost money, and like Brian was saying, treat those as a specialized service that you should be charging for. You got the brain surgeon there working. And number three, document results and promote good customer communications. Basically, the better communication you have, like Brian was saying, the constant caring communication with your customers along the way, as through that whole diagnostic process, that'll kind of build in a trust with them, customer loyalty, and they won't feel so weird about paying a little bit more when you're up front with them and telling them all along the way where you're going with that diagnosis. And four, develop a strong compensation strategy that's going to be fair to your techs. You know, make sure your techs are getting paid. You want to keep those guys around, and also get that balance, that fine balance that your customers feel you're getting a good value as well. And finally, guys, you know, if you're going to provide that great diagnostic service and you're going to charge a little more for it, you're going to have to hire your good diagnostic techs, and you're going to have some good high-end test equipment. But you know, another component of providing that great diagnostic experience is basically not just being a parts changer, like Brian was saying. You know, you want to get in there and do the diagnostics correctly, and you want to come to a conclusion of it only needs one part. Just because it's got a diagnostic trouble code, or that part happens to fail more often, you know, you don't want to change it because of that. You want to do the diagnosis and come up with a really good solution for the customer that's going to be good for the tech and the shop and the customer as well. And guys, if you run into tough diagnostic problems, you know, there's services out there. ALLDATA Tech Assist is a perfect example where you guys come to a stopping point and you need help. You don't want to go over that hour checkout time. You know, ALLDATA Tech Assist provides dependable, targeted diagnostics from a team of experts. Tell you what, guys, this team is all highly skilled master techs, and they can formulate custom diagnostic strategies for you to kind of shortcut your way right to the problem instead of even going through a trouble tree. And most of these guys have been instructors, and so your BNC techs can take on tougher diagnostic problems as well, because these guys are used to training and walking guys through diagnostic procedures. You know, and best of all, guys, you know, it doesn't cost you anything to try it out. You can give Tech Assist a try. All you need to do is give us a call. That number there is on the screen, and you can get a complimentary diagnostic case to get you started to see how you like it, and then you know, go on from there.
One thing I should point out is not all diagnostic hotlines are created equal. So this is one of the reasons why we created the process of giving you guys an opportunity to try it out for free, is because for those individuals that have used a hotline and been burnt before, trust me when I say, and I owned a shop for a very long time, and I know your pain. We all know your pain. Okay, and that's the reason why we built it the way we did, is we wanted to be completely different than everybody else, and so that's why we want to give you the opportunity, is they're not all created equal. Okay?
These guys are passionate about helping the guys out there in the shops.
Exactly. So,
am I going to jump into the Q&A?
Absolutely. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and jump into the Q&A. The first question that we're going to address right now is from Bruce, and he asks, yesterday I had a 2013 Toyota Prius that he finished for a radar cruise. I spent a day and a half and had to fix the car. I'm not exactly sure what his question is. I'm assuming he was trying to figure out a better way to do it instead of spending a day and a half, what might be a better way to solve this problem. Yeah.
You know, John, that's a perfect example, guys, for a call to tech assist. You know, instead of spending a lot of time researching and going through a lot of diagnostics like this and getting the 13-hour job like this, the best thing to do is give us a call, and we'll create a great customized diagnostic strategy for you, and we'll get you, I'll guarantee you, we'll get you to the bottom of that problem a lot sooner than you will on your own. So, you know, once you get an hour or so into this, don't spend any more time. You know, call out for help. Let one of the tech lines help you and get you back on track sooner than you would on your own. And especially guys that are, if you're the master tech in the shop and you don't have anybody else to turn to, or you're the only guy in the shop, right, and you need help, these diagnostic tech lines are a perfect example of thing to use to help with that kind of problem.
Okay, thanks, Rich. Hey, the next question, it's actually also for Bruce. Where can you find a tech? He's been looking for a year, and, you know, is there any other alternatives to, you know, if he can't find one, what else can he do? Brian, you got a good answer for that?
Well, may not be a popular answer, but I have bills to pay. I'm a shop owner, and I have bills to pay, and I have customers that need to be taken care of. I'm going to go find him. I'm going to recruit him. The best diagnostic tech out there is working somewhere. He's not unemployed. He's working because he has a great skill. I'm going to look around. I'm going to find a great tech, and I'm going to find an offer that's going to get him in the door. I think a lot of us are reluctant to do that. We feel like we're dumping on somebody. The reality is techs are looking all the time. There's an old-fashioned word that's loyalty that I would tell you in a practical sense is not out there. I think techs are going to go where they get the best treatment, where they're kept busy, where they can generate the hours, where they have a shop that supports them. We're not twisting arms, but if I need a diag tech and I truly want to be in that business, I want to support that business, and I'm going to commit myself to that business, I'm going to find that technician. I'm going to find a way to engage him and to make him an offer. You know, we've all done the Snap-on truck thing. We've all, you know, hey, I'll give you $20, go find me a tech, and I think that's our contribution to recycling. There's not necessarily a vested interest in finding us that quality top-end guy. To me, there's nothing better than looking that guy in the eyes and saying, hey, I have an offer for you. I think we all feel we have something to offer a tech out there, and that you know, we want him to come to work for us. So I guess my direct answer is recruit. Go find him. The ads, I suppose you always have to be doing the ads, but this is a special guy. There's not a whole bunch of them out there. I'm going to be a little bit more proactive and go find him.
Ryan, are you a fan of coaching up? Say you have a real sharp B-Tech that you feel is good at diagnosis, he's got the right mindset, he's inquisitive, he seems to be real sharp. Are you a fan of maybe coaching those kind of guys up and send them to training and investing in them?
And absolutely, and I think, and again, it's a perspective. Do you want to be in the diag business next week or 6 months from now? I think that the best route is to be always working and moving our technicians toward being that guy. Now, temperamentally, not every technician's ever going to be a diag guy, but a great in-house strategy is certainly providing the environment to move them in that direction, to provide the training and support in that direction, and it's always better to grow them internally than it is to have to go out and find that guy. So absolutely, and that's probably where I should have started that answer as opposed to recruiting, but again, I know the recruiting one is a tough one, so I tried to grab the more difficult, but yes, grow them internally every day, find opportunities to expand on their diagnostic ability, look for training opportunities. Training today is so much easier. You don't necessarily have to go geographically somewhere else like you did in the old days. There's a lot of online training available, and I would certainly find ways to grow that guy internally. It's, again, that's not going to put you in the diag business next week, but it could put you in there next month or 6 months from now, and presumably that guy is knowledgeable of you, knowledgeable of your system, likes being there, and we can grow that relationship into something bigger and better.
But if you want a fast track, you got to hire someone from the outside, right? If you want to get your business fast track to diagnosis next week, like you're saying, right?
Exactly. Both of them are great strategies. It's just what your time frame is, and you have to handle it like that.
Okay, moving on to the next question. We've got Tom is asking a question. he wants to know, can he pass on the charge that he uses for a hotline service on to his customer? And what, I'm guessing, what kind of strategy can he use for that?
Absolutely, John, I can take that one. A lot of our customers say what they'll do is they'll not really directly charge for the hotline service to every customer. What they'll do is they'll add a charge for diagnostic information access. And typically it's maybe $1 that they'll add to their repair order on every single ticket, especially the ones that have diagnostic charges or have to look things up for diagnostics, or they have to look up certain specs and things that will kind of help with their diagnostics. They basically charge just a little bit on every repair order, and it basically pays for that service.
I would even add to that from a business perspective, you need to count for whatever expense you have going into diagnosing a car. And if that's subscriptions, if that's, equipment, whatever, you have to account for that to make it a profitable venture for this transaction, but also all the transactions you do all year long. So absolutely positively you have to account for that. Great former client of mine was a high-end European shop, and he, in his own way, struggled with that for years, with a lot of the handheld diagnostic devices and so on. He struggled with that, but I think in the end he understood it was the right thing to do from a business perspective. It's like a part. It's like any item that goes into you as an owner that it costs you to repair that car, you have to pass that on, or you're going to be struggling to be profitable. And that, to me, is a reasonable charge. You're not going to diagnose the car without those devices, without that equipment. Therefore, that's a reasonable charge to pass on to the customer.
Hey, thanks, Brian. That's just an excellent answer. I really like where you're going with that. One of the other questions that came up was more of a statement. A shop owner says, we never use a hotline because they usually cost us more time by taking us in a circle, retesting everything that we've already done. Okay, is that pretty common?
Actually, no. Our experience has been that at this point, the guys call in with the tests they've done already, and the Tech Assist agents will pretty much give them a shortcut right to the testing they need to do to get to the bottom of the problem as soon as possible, actually. The experience that the guys have in the shop now that are working here, they are experts at bringing up a wiring diagram, and instead of using the long, drawn-out diagnostic trouble code trouble tree, they'll go and look at the schematic and basically walk the tech through maybe 3 or 4 steps to get to the problem, and is problem fixed. Ultimately, we always know what's wrong with that vehicle by the time that testing gets done, and they get it done the quickest way possible.
I would jump in there real quickly, and I promise to be short. I have, again, a former client who had an A-tech, their diagnostic tech, who, it's not an uncommon attitude that he was very confident in his ability and fought tooth and nail that he didn't want to deal with the hotlines, and he undoubtedly could fix any car that was out there, but he'd end up, using hours upon hours. Eventually he would get there, but there's at a certain point the value to the customer, the value to the shop can be diminished when there's a resource there that can, cut that diag time in half, not diminishing the actual work that tech does. So I'm not shortchanging him, but it's a more efficient use of that time that's there. Again, those sites, those tools are extensions of his knowledge and ability, not a replacement of, and that's important. So it's very important that those resources be used as an efficient way of moving those diagnostic jobs through the shop.
Okay, well, I realize that our webinar is going a little bit long, but we're going to go ahead and answer a few more questions. So the next one comes from Mark Chambers, and his question is, what about if we reimburse the diagnostic if the customer goes ahead with the repair once it's diagnosed? Obviously, there needs to be a limit to the amount. I wondered if anyone had any thoughts on using this as a teaser to get the customer to come in for the repair.
For me, I almost been there, done that. I would say it that way, but to me it's almost a gimmick. And I get nervous when we start making diagnostics into something other than what it is. When we the teaser, again, we give something away, and again, I didn't touch this in our main presentation or whatever, but there's one statistic. It's called effective labor rate. Anytime we pay a technician, say $100 an hour is our floor rate, we pay the technician for an hour, and then we turn around, we discount that $100 for that hour. So we pay the technician for his 1 hour. We've discounted it. So basically, effective labor rate says how well you maintain that hourly rate, how well you defend the integrity of that hourly rate. When you start discounting, your effective labor rate starts plummeting pretty quick. And the loser there, the customer wins. The tech, he's getting his hour, so at the very least, he should be neutral, so he's the same. The business is just lost. And my problem there is that most shops in the U.S. are operating on something in the vicinity of 5.5% net operating profit. The technician doesn't particularly care about that and shouldn't. It's not his job to worry about that. The customer wants to pay less, but the shop, if it's gone, everyone loses. And shops in the United States just don't make enough money compared to other service industries. So I just don't like discounting. If we can't do diagnostics profitably, this is painful, I'd say don't do it. You have to be profitable.
We have a question from Robert Gibson. He asked, do you guys have a recommended tool list or maybe some training that may help my techs, as we live very far away and my techs do lack training and they are the best of what I have available? Rich, the question's from Robert.
Yeah, Robert. Actually, ALLDATA has Training Garage available right on the website. So if you go to alldata.com, go to Training Garage, and there is a multitude of different kind of classes there to help train your techs. That's probably the best way to go, the least expensive way to go. And they can do it right there in the shop after work or at lunchtime, too, as well.
Yeah, one of the other things that they can learn a lot from is actually using Tech Assist, and you can try it out and see how that works. Because, like Rich had mentioned, we hire these guys specifically because they have the ability to communicate how to do the job correctly and how to find the best strategy for them. So we find that the guys become better techs every single case they work. So, all right, last question we're going to bring is from John Bridgewater, and he asks, I've tried implementing some kitchen timers so techs know when their time is up, specifically for diagnostics. The techs don't seem too keen on using them, though. I think I also need to add a specific set of tasks I expect to be done within that time. Brian, what do you think about that one?
If I'm a tech and I got a kitchen timer, I would say I don't particularly like that, and I would rather address it on the front end. Mrs. Jones, it's going to take a while, but I want to be thorough and give you the right answer when I come and talk to you in a couple hours or later on this afternoon, and I don't want to set myself up. It's going to be an hour, and if I don't have this done within an hour, is that owner going to yell at me because I didn't diagnose it needed brain surgery quick enough? I'd rather transition, it doesn't happen overnight, but I'd rather, transition the way that I go to market, the way that I go to my customers, in that it's something serious, that it's not routine, and that we need some time to get in there and figure out exactly what it is so I can give you a good, correct answer as opposed to, hey, I can have you an answer in an hour. I think it puts a lot of pressure on the tech, and truthfully, I want that diagnostic tech thinking about diagnostics, not me looking over his shoulder.
That's great, Brian. I think John makes a good point, though, too. It's a lot of shops, to have a diagnostic, maybe a trouble tree or things like he was saying, he wants the tech to definitely check, like, let's make sure the battery voltage is right. Let's do put a scan tool on and pull PIDs and look at that kind of thing. Make sure all the monitors are run. Maybe some things up front that he expects all his techs to do on a good diagnostic service. I think that's probably a good idea.
And there's some good worksheets out there that are available in the industry that I think that they can really utilize for that kind of specific task.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great.
Good point.
And we're going to go ahead and answer one last question here because we're kind of running out of time. Lance asks, do you recommend for the initial diagnostic charge to be low or high? And if they're high, seems to scare customers away and to the dealer. What do you think about that, Brian?
Well, for me, they're all different. By its very nature, diagnostics they're all unique. And again, I'm not going to talk about cost. I'm going to talk about care and concern. Now, some customers are going to pin you down. You know, I'm going to do everything I can to aim that toward, I don't know, I need to get in there, I need to see what we've got, and I'm going to try to approach from that direction. My point is that if we can't be profitable in doing diagnostics, if we have to, you know, rush our tech, take an hour, don't be as diligent, but get in there, get an hour, whatever. I don't want to get into it if I can't be profitable. And it's not, we're going to do diagnostics or we're going to die trying. If I'm in a situation where, you know, I'm being pressed and pushed, and if it's either do this or go to the dealer, I'm almost going to tell them to go to the dealer because I don't want to make it in a McDonald's or a fast food. I'm not trying to smudge anyone's name, but it's not fast food. This is diagnostics. I don't think most people tell their doctor to hurry up. They don't tell their dentist to hurry up, and they don't even tell their plumber to hurry up. So I almost want that customer to be worried because, again, we're talking heart surgery here. We're not talking about new pads on the front. We're talking about something that's fairly major, open-ended, and we have no idea of what it's going to be. So that old hour that we talk about, and we've talked about for 100 years, gets a lot of owners in trouble. The customers hear, oh, I'm going to know what's wrong with it after an hour. And I think most of us would say that's not always true. In fact, I would say the majority of the time that's not true, that we can't commit to that hour because we just don't know. If you get pinned down, I don't know how to answer that other than I would not want to lose a customer, but I'm going to be very cautious about how I talk about cost when we're talking about diagnostics.
And for the same token, I mean, if they get another shop that says, or the customer says, well, the other shop down the street is willing to do it for this price, I mean, the type of reaction that might be a better reaction for them is, well, you know, if that's something that you want to do, then that is absolutely your choice. However, do they have the high-level tech that we have? Are they going to be able to, you know, provide the right, safe, reliable vehicle that you're looking for?
There's a reason why they're charging less.
Exactly. Exactly.
The bargain price brain surgeon, if such a thing exists, I just don't get that. When you're providing a critical, important service, most customers, not all, most customers want somebody that's professional, ethical, and knowledgeable that's going to take care of them and get to the safe and reliable as quickly and efficiently as possible. So, again, I'm just going to be cautious about diagnostics on the cheap and being driven by cost. It'll get you in trouble, and it doesn't necessarily end up with a happy customer or a happy technician at the end of all that.
Right. Well, at this point, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. That was our last question. Rich, do you have anything you want to add?
No, actually, guys, you know, go to ALLDATA. There's all kinds of different things you can use there. You know, Tech Assist. You got Community that's available with your repair program. You also have, of course, Training Garage to help train your techs. Basically, a one-stop shop. ALLDATA likes to provide the shops everything they can to make sure they're profitable and their techs are happy and productive.
I'd also like to thank Brian for coming out and joining us today. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend this time and share with our customers. Any parting thoughts?
I'm obviously very passionate about this, and truthfully, I want owners, service managers, and technicians to get passionate and proud with what we do for a living. And I think, again, it's a valuable service. I'm very honored that the people that came out today and spend this time with us. If you have any questions or anything I can help you with, there's some contact information there on the screen, and give me a call or give me an email, get me on Twitter, and I'll get back to you.
Great. Great. Thanks a lot, Brian. To kind of circle back around, if you have any questions about anything on the webinar or any questions about any of the products, such as repair, collision, manage online, mobile, tech assist, training garage, any of our slew of products, you can call the number on the screen there at the 888-980-9285. You can also chat your questions still. We'll keep the chat box open and the Q&A box open, so you can put your contact information in there. I want to thank everyone for joining us today in this series, and we want to continue to bring and provide valuable webinar information to our customers. Thanks again, everybody. Goodbye.
Thanks, guys.